Hello, Internet. I'm me. And this is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic's episode 20. Now, I'm going to condense this review into 5 points. And both are good, and both are. Most of them are both good and bad, so don't worry. I'm not harping on this episode too much. Though I don't think too highly about this episode, just to let you guys know. It's pretty average, and I'm gonna get to why real soon, so don't worry about it. Alright, let's start out with my point number one. Point number one, it's a paradox episode. What does that mean? I've never liked paradox episodes, so it means it's pointless. Why? Because the character will learn their lesson, but they'll make the same mistake over and over again. Because this is a time traveling kind of episode where Twilight Sparkle from the future comes back to warn Twilight of the past of something, but Twilight Sparkle doesn't listen, and then ends up freaking out about the future because she didn't really listen to what she was going to be warned about. So she decides to freak out and then ends up making the future happen, and then decides, learned the lesson. You know what? I should go back in time and tell myself the lesson so I don't have to do all this. Goes back in time, of course, doesn't make her past self doesn't listen to her, and then, it starts all over again. So literally, she has to teach herself a lesson by trying not to teach herself a lesson. Yeah, time travel's weird. Anywho, so that's my first point. It's kind of pointless. Literally, it's an episode about trying to say, don't worry about the future, live in the now, and let the future be the future. When it comes, it's your gum. Like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So, and this is the thing about it, though. When you have an episode like this, it's kind of. It's just. I don't. Fine. Okay. Yeah, sure. But it leads me to my second point. This plot line is freaking Shay. And I wouldn't care about it if it was, any other show. Because, a lot of cartoons rip off other plots from this and that and the other thing. But this is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. And if you really think about it, most of the plot lines have been pretty unique, or they have a unique spin on an old cliche. This one, not so much. This one seemed like the only really cliched episode. To one where I can pretty much guess the ending from the beginning. And why is this a cliched episode, you say? Where else did you see the plot line, Mr. Critic Man on the internet? Well, I've seen it in a show that ran for 3 seasons called That's So Raven, where literally they took this plot and stretched it out for 3 goddamn seasons. The plot of That's So Raven? The girl was psychic, which was a little bit of a difference, but it was more of, okay, shenanigans at the first beginning of the episode to warm me up with a little laughter, and then the main character gets a vague message of the future, and then she starts freaking out about that message, and then at the end she figures out, oh, if I didn't freak out about this message, I would have prevented the future, but because I did freak out about the message, it happened. Oh no. And then they moved on to the next episode, rinse, repeat, cash the fucking check. So, pretty much, we've seen this before. If anybody who's lived in the time of Even Stevens on Disney Channel, you've seen this episode before. Now, I'm not saying this is bad because, come on, everybody has to. You have to reuse some storylines at some point or plots because, you can't always be unique. But still, I wish that this was handled a little better. And the reason is because I know the writers could probably do something really unique with this. And this brings me to my third point. Cerberus is in this fucking episode. And why do I bring up Cerberus? Because the writers write Cerberus right. Why? Cerberus is outside of the underworld, But then Twilight refers to Tartarus. Yes, Tartarus. For those who don't know, Tartarus is hell inside the underworld. If you know anything about Greek mythology, you know that the underworld is not hell. It is heaven, hell, and purgatory all wrapped into one little bow. So, the underworld is not just for bad people, it's for everybody. Everybody goes there. And Cerberus is the guardian of Tartarus. And Twilight makes reference to this. And they also write Cerberus like a dog. A trained dog is meant to guard something or attack a certain thing, not everything. So when Cerberus is outside playing around, he's playing around. He's gnawing on fruit, or giant things he thinks is fruit. And he's easily calmed down by Fluttershy because he's nothing but a giant puppy. And just like a pit bull is usually very playful unless it's trained to fight everything. And that was pretty much Cerberus. Cerberus was only supposed to be vicious when somebody's trying to get into Tartarus or trying to get out. And this was pretty cool. My bad part of this is that Twilight Sparkle decides to go to the underworld and return Cerberus. I wanted to see that. That would have been so cool. But, hey, you know. And also, this brings up the fact that the writers know their stuff. Why couldn't we go a little more unique on this episode? Just saying. I'm not criticizing this episode for being bad. I'm just kind of saying it could have been more creative. That's all I'm saying. Now, on my fourth point. Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, and Spike bring so much life to this episode. They are the comedic events. Sure, Twilight does a few funny things here and there, but dang, dude, Pinkie Pie, Spike, and Rainbow Dash steal the show. Rainbow Dash is only there for a good 5 minutes and still steals the show scene, even though Spike is going around with his ice cream fetish, he still makes a good entertainment, puts some entertainment around Twilight and gives it some energy that is well needed while she cracks down. But it's kind of that weak crackdown. Not too much. It's not the tardy episode, but it's kind of close. And Pinkie Pie. Oh, God, Pinkie Pie. So hilarious this whole episode in golden moments, like always. So pretty much, these three characters are making the episode. But the problem is, it's not centered around them. They're side characters. It's all about Twilight. We begin with Twilight, we end with Twilight. Except for in Spike's dream, where Rarity only shows up that one time for this episode. Nice. And we do get Big Macintosh and the rest, but they're all reduced to one-liners and cameos. So, other than that, yeah, there's not much else to this episode, except for one crucial thing. I've covered everything else, trust me, in a span of pretty much, this is what everybody did. I've covered everything, except for one crucial fact, which is number 5. Princess Celestia in Twilight Sparkle's breakdown. This is important because it's the factor of the episode. Twilight Sparkle's breakdown is literally what will cause the future to happen. Now, Twilight Sparkle, a gradual and more subtle breakdown this time, causes her to freak out about the future not changing because she keeps trying to stop the future from changing. She gets a pot dropped on her head from nowhere, and they never explain it, to get a band around her hair. She gets her face burnt by Spike's fireball, so she gets this hair. And yes, she does look like Solid Snake. I think that's the reference, but don't know why. Guess Twilight Sparkle's now a Metal Gear's. Yeah, fine. You are now Solid Twilight. Go. Assassinate people. Use the trank, though. You're a real man if you play the whole game with just the trank gun. Anyway. Yeah, so Twilight Sparkle is getting all this stuff, and not once does she actually go up to Celestia and actually ask for anything. I mean, she comes to the conclusion that she has to stop time itself, and she needs this special spell inside of the Cantor Library. And instead of just going up to her teacher, Princess Celestia, the owner of the fucking castle, and going, hey, can I get in there for a second and, get my stuff? No, she's just like, oh, we have to break in. We have to go Mission Impossible or Metal Gear Solid. And where she gets the look, she looks like Metal Gear Solid. She looks like Solid Snake already, so it's pretty much Metal Gear Solid from this point, except for the little exclamation points over their heads. And sneaks in, and I love how the show actually makes a joke about her logical loophole, where it's pretty much she's sneaking all around the castle and then ends up back where she came in because the door was like right there to the left. And of course, when she bumps into a guard and a guard notices she's there, she pretty much goes, "Oh, hey Twilight, hadn't seen you in a while. Oh, have a nice day," and then moves on because she's welcome there. And that was pretty cool. And you're probably wondering, why the heck did I bring up Celestia? It's because for some random reason, she shows up at the very end of the episode. It's saying, Happy Tuesday to Twilight Sparkle. Now, you may say, Happy Tuesday is kind of a weird thing to say. Not if you watch Law & Order SVU like me and my brother. Tuesdays when they have Law & Order SVU marathons on USA. That's important. Celestia thinks it's important. I think it's important. We're all cool. But other than that, this episode really didn't have too much to it, and that's why I almost blew through this review without even trying. This episode isn't bad. It isn't bad at all. Let me say that again. This episode isn't bad. It had some real potential for some creative ideas, and in the inclusion of Cerberus, which was pointless and random, though, except for to give Twilight Sparkle a scratch. Could have done that with anything else, but I still think the writers were just pretty much sitting there going, we really want to do something creative, but we can't go outside of this little box that somebody put them in. And I'm just like, let the writers write. This looks like a really cool idea. And that's the most I don't like about this episode. It's not that I don't like the episode because I think it's bad. It's because it's so average, yet it has the potential to be good. And I really want it to be good, especially with this kind of episode and this kind of thought process behind it. I really saw a lot of opportunities, and most of them weren't taken. I really wish this episode was a little more, or at least a little more creative in its approach. Other than that, this is a pretty good episode. Then again, the paradox at the end almost makes it kind of useless. So you could watch the beginning of the episode, guess the ending, and then go home. Unless you really want to see those Pinkie Pie, Rainbow Dash, and Spike jokes. And other than that, there's not really much else to stay there unless you're a history buff like me and get to see Cerberus. Other than that, this episode is skippable, but not in any way bad. Again, 7.5 out of 10, 8 if you're really generous. So I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.